All right, so welcome to another deep dive with us. Today, we're going to be tackling something a little different, a little bit on the wild side, you could say. We're going to be looking at animal strength.
Yeah, more specifically, one very, let's just say, interesting perspective on animal strength.
Right, it's not your typical, nature documentary kind of approach.
No, not at all. We found this source, and they seem to view the animal kingdom as, well, kind of a giant fight club.
It's like survival of the fittest taken to a whole new, maybe slightly absurd level.
They've actually ranked animals based purely on fighting prowess, and let's just say some of their conclusions are, well, a little out there.
Yeah, a little out there is putting it mildly. It's like they took all the logic of a video game and applied it to real life animals.
Exactly. And they've completely ignored like all the nuances of, actual survival in the wild.
Like cooperation, ecological niches, all that stuff.
It's as if they think animals only exist to, duke it out in a one-on-one battle.
Right. No teamwork, no strategy, just pure brute force.
So we thought it would be fun to dive into their top 10 list and, well, see how their logic holds up to, actual reality.
Yeah, let's see how their fantasy fight league stacks up against, the actual complexities of nature.
All right, so starting number 10, we have the king of the jungle, the lion.
Oh, the classic, right? You got to have the lion in there.
Of course. And our source highlights, the classic lion strengths. Impressive bite force, reaching over 600 pounds, incredible speed, up to 60 kilometers per hour.
Yeah, those are some serious predator stats.
Absolutely. But here's where things get a little interesting. Our source claims that lions have manes because they're afraid of being bitten on the neck.
Wait, what? So the animal known for its deadly neck bites is afraid of getting bitten on the neck.
That's what they're saying. It's a bit of a contradiction, to say the least.
Yeah, it's like a boxer wearing a helmet because they're scared of getting punched in the head.
Exactly. It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
All right, so moving on to number 9, we have the tiger.
Yes, and according to our source, the tiger edges out the lion simply because it's a bit bigger.
So it's like a heavyweight versus middleweight situation. Size is the only determining factor.
Apparently so. It's a very simplistic view of animal strength, to say the least.
Okay, but here's where I get really confused. Number 8 on their list is the American bison.
The American bison, which, if I'm not mistaken, is often prey for lions.
Right, so the animal that lions hunt is somehow stronger than the lion itself.
That's what our source is claiming. It seems they've completely overlooked the whole concept of, teamwork and hunting strategies.
Right. A lone lion might struggle against a bison, but a pride working together, that's a different story.
It's a classic example of how their focus on single combat leads to some truly absurd conclusions.
All right, things are getting weirder by the minute. Let's see what they have at number 7.
Number 7 is the gorilla.
Ah, the gorilla. The almost human, incredibly strong primate.
Our source goes on and on about their strength, the grip strength exceeding 1,100 pounds, the punching force of, get this, 2 tons.
2 tons. Are we talking about like a cartoon anvil falling on someone?
Apparently. They even acknowledge that gorillas are intelligent, second only to humans.
Right. They're like the brainiacs of the primate world.
But then they claim there's no evidence of gorillas using their intelligence for practical purposes in the wild.
So they're basically saying gorillas are just big, dumb, strong. That they have all this brain power, but no real-world application for it.
It's as if they think gorillas are, just sitting around pondering the meaning of life while casually lifting boulders.
Maybe they're just really good at hiding their intelligence, playing it cool.
Perhaps. All right, let's move on to number 6, where we encounter a creature that needs no embellishment to be terrifying. The saltwater crocodile.
Oh, yeah, those guys are they're the real deal.
Absolutely. And our source describes their bite force as a staggering 2 tons, 4 times that of a gorilla, apparently.
4 times. That's enough to crush a car.
But even with that kind of power, they do admit that crocodiles have a weakness. They're slow and clumsy on land.
So they're like the kings of the swamp, but on dry land, they're a bit less majestic.
Exactly. It highlights that even the most formidable creatures have their vulnerabilities, and their power is often context-dependent.
Yeah, even the strongest can have a weak spot.
Precisely. And that's something our source seems to have overlooked in their quest for the ultimate fighting champion of the animal kingdom.
All right, so we're back, and we're delving deeper into this, shall we say, unique ranking of animal strength.
We're now entering the top 5, and, Well, the logic doesn't seem to be getting any clearer.
Yeah, I'm starting to think our source might have skipped a few biology classes.
At number 5, we have the brown bear.
Brown bear, yeah, those guys are they're definitely strong, no doubt about that.
Our source tells us they can weigh up to a ton, stand over 8 feet tall, and run at speeds exceeding 30 miles per hour.
Yeah, that's a lot of bear coming at you.
And their paw swipe, according to our source, is just as powerful as a gorilla's punch. 2 tons of force.
2 tons again. Are they measuring this with like a cartoon, say, falling from the sky?
It seems so. But here's something interesting. The source mentions that brown bears and tigers often share territory, but they tend to avoid direct confrontation.
So even these apex predators, they're not always looking for a fight.
It seems they understand that, a fight to the death isn't always the most strategic approach.
Right, like why risk getting injured when you can just, go find some berries or something?
But our source, they seem determined to make every animal a gladiator. Which brings us to number 4, the giraffe.
The giraffe, really? I mean, they're tall, sure, but I wouldn't exactly call them fierce.
Our source, however, sees them as fearsome warriors, claiming their kicks are the most powerful in the animal kingdom.
They even say a giraffe can kick a tree down or even kill a lion with a single blow.
I've seen giraffes sparring with each other, and it looks more like, awkward neck wrestling than a lethal martial art.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine a giraffe taking down a lion with a kick.
It does seem a bit far-fetched, to say the least.
All right, so what about number 3? What other surprises does our source have in store for us?
At number 3, we have the hippopotamus, often perceived as a large, grumpy herbivore.
Yeah, they seem to spend most of their time just, lounging in the water.
Our source, however, paints a different picture. They describe hippos as relentlessly aggressive and dangerous.
Really? I mean, they're big, sure, but I wouldn't have thought of them as particularly aggressive.
And their explanation for this aggression is, well, rather interesting. They claim hippos are so violent because they're actually quite cowardly.
Wait, so they're like the schoolyard bully who picks on everyone else because they're insecure.
That's their theory, yes. But here's another twist. They mention that hippos, despite spending most of their time in water, can't actually swim.
They can't swim, but they're always in the water.
They explain that hippos stay in the water to prevent their skin from drying out, but they don't swim in the traditional sense. Instead, they walk along the bottom of rivers and lakes.
So they're like giant aquatic toddlers just waiting around.
Essentially, yes. All right, moving on to number 2, we have the rhinoceros.
The rhino with its impressive horn and tough hide.
Our source describes their skin as a 5-centimeter thick, bulletproof vest.
5 centimeters. That's thicker than a steak.
They also highlight the rhino's speed, claiming it can reach over 34 miles per hour.
And of course, there's that horn, perfectly positioned for charging.
But here's the twist. They claim that despite their intimidating appearance, rhinos are actually quite docile creatures. Unless you threaten their young, of course.
So they're like the gentle giants of the savannah until you mess with their kids.
Precisely. And finally, we've reached the pinnacle of our source's ranking. The undisputed champion, the true king of the jungle, the elephant.
The elephant. I mean, they're big, they're strong, they're intelligent. It's hard to argue with that.
Our source describes them as being virtually flawless, immense in size, surprisingly swift, remarkably agile, and incredibly intelligent.
They claim elephants can toss cars around like toys, crush bones with a single step, and outsmart even the most cunning predators.
But even the mighty elephant, our source concedes, has one fatal flaw. Its vulnerability to humans.
And that vulnerability isn't due to a lack of physical strength or intelligence, but rather our insatiable desire for ivory.
It's a sobering reminder that even the most powerful creatures on Earth can be brought down by human greed and cruelty.
Okay, so we've made it through the top 5. But wait, there's more. Our source has thrown in a bonus contender, a creature that's small in stature, but apparently huge in terms of ferocity. Coming in as a surprise number 0, we have the honey badger.
The honey badger, officially recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records as the most fearless animal in the world.
Fearless, huh? I've seen some videos of those guys. They definitely don't back down from a fight.
They claim honey badgers will take on anything, venomous snakes, lions, you name it, and often emerge victorious.
They're like the little guy who always wins in those underdog sports movies.
They describe the honey badger's skin as incredibly thick and tough, like a tire, making it resistant to bites and stings.
And apparently, they have an almost supernatural immunity to snake venom. They can get bitten multiple times and just keep on fighting.
But even the seemingly invincible honey badger has a weakness, and it's a rather comical one. Its soft underbelly.
So all you have to do to defeat this fearless predator is flip it over.
Well, that's the theory, at least.
Oh,
Though I imagine trying to flip over a honey badger in the middle of a fight would be a rather risky endeavor.
no kidding. And let's not forget the honey badger's other secret weapon, its infamous stink bomb.
Ah, yes. The honey badger's ability to unleash a noxious spray that can disorient and even incapacitate its opponents. It's like they come equipped with their own personal chemical warfare system.
So we've explored the source's top contenders for the strongest animal on Earth.
Hmm.
But as we've seen, their rankings are based on some pretty dubious logic and a very narrow definition of strength.
Indeed. They seem fixated on the idea of one-on-one combat, ignoring the complexities of survival strategies, ecological niches, and the interconnectedness of life in the wild.
So what does this all mean? What have we actually learned from this deep dive into the absurd world of animal strength rankings?
I think it highlights the dangers of oversimplification and the importance of critical thinking. When we reduce complex concepts like strength or power to a single metric, we miss out on the nuanced beauty and wonder of the natural world.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that true strength often lies in adaptability, resilience, intelligence, and the ability to thrive within a complex ecosystem. It's about more than just who would win in a fistfight.
Exactly. So let's revisit some of the animals we discussed and see if we can reframe our understanding of their power based on these new insights. Shall we start with the elephant, the source's crown champion?
Yeah, the elephant. I mean, it's easy to get caught up in the size and the strength thing.
Right. It's like, how could anything stand up to that? But I think what's really impressive about elephants is, well, their social intelligence.
Oh yeah, they have those really strong family bonds, right?
Exactly. They live in these tight-knit family groups, and they communicate in really sophisticated ways.
I've read about how they use like infrasound, sounds that are too low for us to hear.
Right. And they also they show remarkable empathy and compassion for each other.
Yeah, like when one of them is injured or grieving, the others will rally around them.
And that social structure, that ability to cooperate and support each other, that's a powerful survival strategy in itself.
It's like they've got each other's backs no matter what.
Exactly. So, while their physical strength is undeniable, I think it's their social intelligence that truly sets them apart.
Okay, so what about the giraffe? Our source was pretty fixated on its kicking power, but maybe there's more to its strength than just those long legs.
Absolutely. I mean, that long neck, it's obviously their most striking feature.
And our source made it sound like it was mostly for, fighting.
But of course, the main reason for that long neck is to reach food that other animals can't get to.
Oh yeah, like all those leaves high up in the trees.
Exactly. It's like having their own personal buffet way up above the ground.
No need to compete with, all the other herbivores down below.
And that in itself is a huge advantage, right? It reduces competition for food and allows them to thrive in a niche that few others can exploit.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about the honey badger?
Ah, the honey badger. Our source's wild card contender.
Yeah, they made it sound like this tiny, unstoppable force of nature.
And while their fearlessness is definitely impressive, I think their true strength lies in their opportunistic nature.
They're not picky eaters, right? They'll pretty much eat anything.
They're scavengers. They steal food from other animals. They raid beehives. They're not afraid to take risks.
Yeah, those bee stings don't seem to bother them too much.
And that kind of boldness, that willingness to, try anything, that's a valuable survival trait in a harsh environment.
It's like they've got that go for it attitude no matter the odds.
Exactly. So, we started with this source's somewhat comical ranking system.
Yeah, it was definitely entertaining, to say the least.
But I think we've managed to uncover some more nuanced perspectives on what it really means to be strong in the animal kingdom.
Right. It's not just about brute force or, who would win in a fight.
It's about adaptability, resilience, intelligence, and the ability to thrive in a complex ecosystem.
And maybe it's also about knowing when to pick a fight and when to walk away.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I'd like to leave you with a thought.
All right, lay it on us.
We've explored all these fascinating animal examples, but how do these different forms of power, how do they manifest in our own human world?
Ooh, that's a good one. What can we learn from these creatures about, Resilience, adaptability, and the true meaning of strength.
Something to think about.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us on this wild ride through the animal kingdom.
It's been a pleasure.
And remember, the next time you see a nature documentary, don't just focus on the dramatic showdowns.
Look deeper.
Yeah, look deeper, and you'll find a world of fascinating adaptations, complex strategies, and maybe even a reflection of our own human nature.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep appreciating the incredible diversity and wonder of the natural world.